Welcome to True Heel Heat, the place where we use insider terms because we think we know what the fuck we're talking about, even though we don't. My name's Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and I'm better than you, and you know it.
Hey guys, it's Rosa, and welcome to True Heel Heat.
Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with True Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. We are live on the True Hill Heat, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for AEW Double or Nothing 2024 preview. And I am joined by the good fellas, the Brit Rest Dream Team here. First up, we got the good brother who joins us for almost all the AEW pay-per-views. He took a month off because Dynasty was not a part of the schedule when we agreed to terms for 2024. So he took off that month, but he is back for Double or Nothing. You'll see him at Late Night Grin and WrestlePurists, the one and only Joe Hulbert.
Like, I like that Goodfellas. I hope we can do something with that Goodfellas name, you know. I feel like there's something to that. But I'm here. I don't know how I made it. It's been a week, fellas. The last time I was on the air, it was almost a week ago to preview Double or Nothing. So it nearly killed me. So I've returned to tackle it once more. But I am thrilled to be here. First of a triple header for me today. So, I mean, this could be my last day podcasting, but who's counting, right? What is what it is. Let's go out swinging. Let's go for it.
Well, I'm glad we start off the triple header with us here. We are glad to have you back for your Jordan flu game, sir.
That's the plan. It may not be so Jordan, but it will be a flu game. that much is a lock.
And we got another familiar face here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. It's been too long since we had the good brother back on here from the GRAPPL podcast. The one and only Benno is back. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm glad the Brits are taking over here. I think we run this now, Joe. I think you can't retire. We'll just take over True Heat. British takeover. We'll just be really negative. We'll moan about the weather. We'll do all the British things. We can talk about the Euros coming up. You know, they love all that. We'll just do that.
I gotta be honest. When I was talking to see about putting this show together, and he goes, "Benno's on," I said, "Oh, we could have a real good fucking moan on that." because I'm a guest here, so like I'm not going to be back, next Friday, so I could really go for it, really enjoy myself,
I don't know what it is. I don't know what's in our water, SP3, because you're over at the minute, aren't you? And it's just like, I don't know. I think maybe it's the fact that we have to stay up so late for the pay-per-views. It makes us all cranky. And we have, like, when Tony Khan's shows are still going at 5 in the morning, and then he wheels out for the presser at 6 in the morning. Like, we've just got that extra bit of spite towards it. So, yeah. We just have high standards. That's all it is, I'd say.
That's what I tell myself,
And I was out here last year for Double or Nothing too, and I remember seeing the sun rise as Anarchy in the Arena is still going on.
I think it's still going on. Honestly, it was a very long show.
And there'll be Americans complaining, won't they, Joe? They'll be on Twitter. It'll be like 10:30 p.m. Eastern or something like. It's getting a bit late here, guys. Is this pay-per-view going to wrap up or what? We're like, come on, man. saying that we're all off work on Monday, so it's not so bad. You know.
There you go. There you go.
Holiday.
Exactly. But we are here to discuss this Sunday's big show from Las Vegas, AEW Double or Nothing 2024. We'll give you our predictions, break down the card, give you our thoughts on the build up to the show. But all you got to do in return, we appreciate y'all for joining us live. We appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Show that appreciation back the simplest way possible is by dropping the thumbs up on the video. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can also drop a thumbs up, a heart emoji, an angry emoji, a laughing emoji, however AEW Double or Nothing is making you feel heading into Sunday. If you're watching us over on Facebook, if you're watching back on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. We're in 7 days of SP3 on this channel because I've done previews for King and Queen of the Ring. I've done a review of Monday Night Raw, review of Collision. I did a review of AEW Dynamite yesterday. I'll be back to do the watch party for King and Queen of the Ring and the review tomorrow. So yeah, it's going to be a long weekend. But yes, we're here to discuss all of that. So sound off in the live chat and give us your predictions for AEW Double or Nothing. We'll try to highlight as many of your comments as possible. But of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here. The best way to do that is with a super chat donation. Those go back to the contributors you usually see on screen with us here. And I always appreciate the support. We are a self-funded channel. So as Jimmy Macaram says, I have kids. Y'all need to help me get them some clothes and some food. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. But we got in the chat here 6-star who says that Joe Hulbert aura is unmatched. Unmatched. It's not gone.
You could have fooled me.
We've had discussions about aura being gone on social media, but Joe Hulbert aura is still intact.
It is a goal of mine to one day log on to Twitter and see, like, man, that Hulbert aura's ain't there anymore.
It's gone.
Screenshot of me on like a Dynamite review, sort of looking tired. It's a goal of mine.
But then that tweet will get ratioed by all the late night Grin and WrestlePurists fans. Like the other aura is gone. Oh, he said 6-star says breathing rarefied air. Indeed, we are. We also got Ben in the chat. He says, "What a trio! Behave, Benno. Benno, you know better. You know better.
I'm a nice guy. Come
on True Hill Heat. Come on.
Only positive things today about a couple of the matches. Now, overall, I'm feeling good. I'm excited to be here with you two. Honestly, I put on Twitter, this is a dream of mine to be on with you two, especially Joe. We've been flirting on Twitter for a while, mate. So I'm glad to be here.
I'm
with
the
you.
best
So,
of flirting on Twitter, bro.
Yeah, man. Enough about those DMs, though.
I'm the black truck rollery. I'm bringing y'all flirting freaks together for this one preview here. I love it.
There's at least I'd say there's at least 50 people in the space that if the DMs got leaked, like it's a wrap. Benno's one of the league leaders in that regard in terms of my catalog. So yeah.
Jesus, what is going on here? Oh my God.
This is Britain, brother. This is what we do, we talk shit. Here's what it is.
We also got Emmanuel in the chat who says, "You think you're hard? We'll see how hard you really are." And he says, "Prediction: Juice Robinson is returning on Sunday." I would love that. He's the missing link to making Bang Bang Gang, which is now officially the Bang Bang Gang and not Bullet Club Gold. They changed the rebrand. He's the missing piece that makes them must watch to me. What about y'all?
I agree.
He was in the background, wasn't he? That there was like something they did like outside with like a slide and stuff, and he was there, and it was like a little bit of a teaser. That was like 2 months ago now, wasn't it? Maybe there's something to that.
He's been out for a long time.
Yeah, he's been out since before Full Gear. He got that when MJF dropped the TV on him.
No wonder I didn't remember. There you go.
That's why you have me here, Joe. I remind you of all this stuff.
In a minute, when we do the matches, you're going to run through the build to all the matches, and it'll be the first I hear of most of it. I'm gonna re-listen in.
I really got a good compliment the other day for the WWE King and Queen of the Ring. Kev Kellum was my special guest. He was like, "You're amazing at covering this whole build." I was like, "It takes a lot of work." I was like, he was like, "You have that written down?" I was like, "No, it just comes off the top of the head." I was like, "I don't know how I'm able to retain it with 2 4-year-olds, but somehow."
The big advantage you have over myself is you watch the shows, and that really is.
Is that an advantage though? Like, I feel like your
Well,
life is better for that reason, Joe. So there's that as well, you
yeah,
know.
that's what I tell myself. It's a debate. It's a debate worth having.
Look, we'll carry it. It's all good. We all bleed podcast. It's what we do. Like, I don't know what I'm doing if I'm not on screen with the camera in my face. So with us three,
Exactly.
like record hours, I reckon. So we'll be good.
Yeah.
Facts. But before we get into the card for this Sunday, you know how we do here, Joe, Benno, how we do these pay-per-view previews. We go 0 to 10. What is your buzz level? How much are you anticipating this Sunday's card from 0 to 10? We'll start with you, Benno.
Oh, do you have to?
Yeah.
The Americans are going to come for me, Joe. Protect me. Protect me. It's low. I think that's my over. I feel like I'm like in a bad relationship with AEW where I'm just doing this. Me and AEW are destined to do this forever. I'm going to moan about the build. I'm going to moan about the dynamites. I'm going to be like, oh, what are they doing? Everything's a bit haphazard. Tony can't just remember he's got a pay-per-view coming up, so let's throw a load of shit at the wall. There's going to be cards. There's going to be bloodbaths. There's going to be fucking flamethrowers. And he's going to do his best to pull me back in. I'm going to resist. And then the pay-per-view's going to come around. It's going to be fucking great, isn't it? It's always fucking great. Like, no matter what I say that's negative leading in, it's all going to be nullified on the morning after, on Monday morning. It's going to be like, yeah, another great pay-per-view. So that kind of puts me somewhere in the middle. The build hasn't grabbed me at all for this one. I think, in the famous words of one of our listeners, Chris Linney, if you've got 3 main events, you haven't got a main event. And I do feel that about this pay-per-view. I think it's lacking that tippy-top main event, but match is good, so that's going to happen. And yeah, I'm going to be left looking silly on Monday, but going in, I'm probably a 5 or 6. And that's with knowing that reality, really. And it's just, a lot of the main program's not really grabbing me, and there are going to be good matches in there as well. But I think that's just my general malaise with AEW right now, and I don't know what they can do to pull me back, I'm like you, Joe. I'm a man who doesn't sleep much. I'm usually up till 3 in the morning watching Dynamite while the WrestlePurists streams are probably still going. And this last while I've struggled to even do that, really. So I'm hoping this pay-per-view pulls me back, and I'm positive come Monday morning.
Joe, what about you? 0 to 10.
That was lovely. The way that Benno
he broke it down.
You look great now. You'll be happy now. You'll be like, oh, I'm 10. Absolutely, yeah.
You laid the groundwork. I can just walk over it now. Right? It's beautiful. I honestly find it hard to even give a sincere answer to this, because when we actually look at the matches, there are many of which I'm going to say, oh my God, that's going to be incredible, right? There's some matches on here that are going to be classics, I think. There's one in particular that I've circled that's it's not a hot take, but I just think, the international title match, I think, will be spectacular, most likely. But the question is excitement, right? And it's excitement is, oh my God, I can't wait to get to Sunday. Excitement is I can't wait to see what happens, who wins. And I don't feel a lot of that at all. It's almost it has an exhibition vibe for me where I have no investment. I'm just I'm looking forward to seeing these gentlemen have great professional wrestling matches. And I think there's so many great professional wrestling matches that I'd probably say I'm a 6 just on that alone. But I mean, I can't tell you that I'm sitting here just chomping at the bit to get this pay. And that used to be the case. And it's a weird thing. Ben, you use the word relationship with AEW, and it is a weird thing because you sometimes wonder if it's you that's changed. Sometimes. And I'm not sure it is us that's changed, Ben. I think other things here are at play, but it's it just feels different to me. I don't know. That's the best way I put it. I'm at a 6. I think the show's going to be stellar, but there isn't a lot of juice or buzz there to me of what next. What's this going to represent in AEW? It's just it's going to be a great pay-per-view, which is going to be cool. So that's where I'm at.
Of course.
Yeah, I think I'm at a 6 as well. I said it yesterday on our AEW Dynamite review. I was watching Dynamite on Wednesday evening, and after the first hour, I contacted my boy Jimmy Macram that I do the review with, and I was like, I'm really trying to figure out, is it that Tony Khan only knows how to book the week after a pay-per-view and the week before a pay-per-view and has totally lost the pen on the in-between weeks? Because that's how I feel after the AEW Dynasty build and this build. it seems like it's the same. Like the go home shows for both of those shows, I thought were good. This week's show on Wednesday, I thought it was good because everything was focused on building to Double or Nothing. Regardless of how you feel about some of the matches, you could say they were focused on building that show.
Right.
But everything between this and the show right after Dynasty, I haven't felt like that same connection to AEW. And that comes after Revolution, which Revolution I thought was one of the best builds to a pay-per-view they've ever had. And now we hear two pay-per-views later, and I feel like it's going down. We went from the peak and we've been going down since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the shorter window between pay-per-views might cover some of the cracks of Tony Khan's booking. I honestly thought it might be a positive, but I think that's part of the issue. Like to Joe's point, I think AEW got an investment problem because why would you invest in so many characters and belts and wrestlers and so many things going on and so many bit part characters and so many matches that are a foregone conclusion before you even watch them? Like, I can't remember the last Collision that had a match on it that I didn't know the winner. You know, there's a lot of that gives me less investment. And then anticipation is part of wrestling. Like, it's a bigger conversation, but the matches will be great at the weekend. These are some of the best wrestlers in the world. I just wish I one, felt more invested, and two, had more anticipation for it. And I do think this closer window between pay-per-views has made a difference as well, because Double or Nothing, like, I was looking at flying out this year. Double or Nothing in my head is AEW's, if not their biggest show, their 1B. And it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a good in-ring pay-per-view, but just another good AEW pay-per-view. It doesn't feel as important, doesn't feel as significant, and that was always the worry with them going to this shorter window between shows, and I think we're seeing the fruits of it. Maybe that's what we're all feeling.
Yeah, I think the problem is that Tony or whoever's writing, or the collective creative team, it's just not episodic television. I feel like one story and one matchup has been progressing week after week, and that's the real main event, in my opinion. I don't know why they're calling it triple main event, but there's been one story that has progressed week after week that has been the focus of the company, and then everything else just kind of feels like it was put together. The Willow and Mercedes, I felt like got better when they figured out, hey, yeah, Mercedes Mone is a heel against this babyface Willow Nightingale. Yeah, then they figured out, oh, that's how you book it. It took them too long with the other women's title feud. They just figured out who's the heel there, but it's just frustrating.
It's weird because I agree with that completely, but that isn't even a new problem, is it? It just feels exacerbated by all the different factors we've talked about. Because I think they've struggled with episodic television for a long time. Actually, it's just I think there was an excitement and an energy that's not there anymore that helped a lot back then. And the formula now. Tony's playbook. You know exactly what this guy's going to win on Collision. Oh, who's he losing to on Wednesday? It's like know it because he's been booking for 5 years, man. That's a long time. So I don't know.
It's the EWR playbook, isn't it? The end of every match, you've got to have an angle. Somebody's got to win. You've got to have a beatdown angle. Like, there'll be dynamites where there'll be 8 matches where that exact thing happens. It's formulaic. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, and we're pinpointing the formula, and we're seeing it happen, and it's coming across stale. It's been 5 years, like Joe said. So, hey. We'll see how much our excitement builds as we talk about the show. Sure. But we got Josh in the chat who says, before Wednesday, I wasn't excited for a lot of this pay-per-view, but Dynamite really got me pumped up for this. We also got 6-star who says, would love to see Tam Nakano show up for Double or Nothing. We should be seeing some more Stardom talent showing up on AEW television soon as we head into Forbidden Door. But we got to talk about Double or Nothing first. And let's talk about the match that was just made this past Wednesday on Dynamite. The Bang Bang Gang, the AEW Unified Trios Champions, will be going up against Death Triangle. Lucha Bros will have to get the victory over the Guns on Collision to make this for the Unified AEW World Trios Championships. I assume they will, so this will be for the titles. Death Triangle, former champions, going against the Bang Bang Gang. They kind of isolated Pac over the last couple of weeks, targeting him as he's been in this depression where he's been dry for weeks ever since losing to Okada at Dynasty, and now he has his amigos back to fight against the Bang Bang Gang. Joe, what have you thought about the shorter build to this matchup, and who do you think wins on Sunday?
I mean, this is one of those builds where you kind of Benno's already popping. Yeah.
I'm just glad he went to you, Joe. I'm just gonna sit back. Go for it, man.
It's one of those builds where they do a single segment together, and you go, "That's the match Tony wants to do," and he's gonna just give himself a reason to do the match. That's the way it works, and that's fine. I don't need the trios title match to have some sort of red hot angle. I actually think sometimes matches like this don't even need an angle, because to me it's like it's the trios titles. Like it's. I don't think anyone's buying the paper to see like the conclusion of this conflict here, but I think it'll be a hell of a wrestling match. I mean, I will say I would very much like it if Penta appeared interested in this one. I would appreciate that. I don't think that's asking too much. I'd imagine Phoenix will be spectacular because this is his first big match in a long time, right? So I'd imagine.
And he looked like he ate a lot of protein on his time off.
He looked great. Yeah, he looked great. So I'd imagine this will be good. The Bang Bang Gang will kind of operate as traditional heels and cut the ring off, and I imagine there'll be some heat here. 13-14 minutes, I assume. Honestly, I'm going to steal the chat's prediction. Chat, keep predictions coming so I can steal them. I think Juice Robinson's going to return to give the Bang Bang Gang the win, because that would make some sense, right? And then the Death Triangle could become a Death Square and add another gentleman. And then next thing you know, we could have World 8-man tag team titles. That's free. Some of that may happen. I don't think all of it will. But I think the Bang Bang Gang will win in a very good professional wrestling match.
Benno, what have you thought about the shorter build to this, and who do you have winning on Sunday?
Yeah, it feels a bit out of nowhere because Pac wanted to go the solo route, it seemed, and it sounded like Death Triangle were dead, and I guess that was just set up to surprise you. Actually, they're not dead. Here they are. Like, we'd all be excited. They're back, and you got fucking fake Dracula, Alex Abrahantes following them around, making them the least cool stable you'll ever see in your fucking life. How's that guy on TV? And I love all these guys. I love Penta. I love Phoenix. I love Pac. I just don't love them together. I think Pac had something much more interesting going as a solo act. Every part, even Penta and Phoenix, I've always thought that about them as a team. They're always much more interesting when they're doing their own thing. I'd rather see Jay White doing his own thing as well. Fine as a match. I assume the Bang Bang Gang retain, but yeah, there's got to be more interesting things you can do with the parts here. There's a wealth of talent in this match, and yeah, trios match, so is what it is.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you guys have said. I've been a big supporter of Jay White for years, and I've just been shaking my head off of his booking in 2024. The fact that he's become the pay-per-view pre-show match guy, and I was happy that it didn't have the 0 hour tagline on the graphic for this matchup, because I was like, at least he's on the main card. That's a progression, but it's like you're crawling instead of actually walking with Jay White. I think they can get a lot more out of Jay White. He's one of the most underutilized guys in AEW right now. And I agree with you with Pac, that Pac is more interesting when he's alone. He just had one of the best pay-per-view openers at Dynasty with Okada last month, and now he's kind of back into the trio scene, which I like Death Triangle together, but they never come up with anything interesting story-wise, and I don't think this was interesting as far as the build. But I do agree with Joe. I think that the Bang Bang Gang win, you get Juice Robinson to come back to get them the win, so you're protecting Death Triangle, and then I hope they make it a free bird rule where Juice can be the third trio champion and Jay can do some single stuff.
That would make sense. Yeah, because I love Juice, and I think his presence has been more noticeable since he's been gone. Actually, I think you realize how important he was to that group. But I don't think he's I think it's pretty obvious he's not the guy who pushes the singles there. So him and the Guns as like a bumping trio, I think could be fun. I think there's something to that for sure.
Yeah. I feel like we talked about it yesterday on the review that Juice is like akin to like there's very rare you have a stable that is very kind of dependent on the second guy. It's usually it's dependent on who the first guy is, but Juice, his absence has really made you realize his value to this group. Like, it's the most valuable second guy in a group since it wasn't a guy in like China. China's like presence in the DX stable was so important that when she was gone, when they did DX 2000, it totally sucked. And the
Yeah.
Bang Bang Gang loses a lot of its charisma and its kind of must-watch appeal when Juice is not there.
They're a very rare stable in AEW that they actually look like they enjoy hanging out together, unlike the other team. Like, can you imagine Pac hanging around with them with Alex Abrahantes? No. Can you imagine even knocking around with Penta and Penta and Phoenix? No. But on the other side, you've got, like you say, Jay White's the clear leader, Juice is the clear second, so he's great. It's Flair and Anderson, isn't it? It's that perfect, in a very, very different way, very different wrestlers. And then you've got the tag team on the side as well, like they all fit their role. And a lot of AEW stables are just thrown together, aren't they? Just pieces together that don't really make any sense, and they constantly add to it. That's a proper stable. That's like old school DX. You can name all kinds, where it fits perfectly. And I'd just rather they would, this is fine. If this is something for Jay White to do in the meantime, and at some point he's going to get that singles push, great. It's just I don't trust the company that day is coming, and all we're thinking about is this.
Yeah, because I think about all the other people that should be better utilized in the company, and it's growing to a long list. I said it the other day. It's growing to WWE in the 2010s level of people that are underutilized in the company. 6-star with a good comment here saying the TV matches have noticeably declined in quality. It's clear they're not allowing them to wrestle at the same caliber on TVs. The rotating roster keeps creating start and stop pushes that are tiring. Very true. Very true. Because it's been a while since we had like a Dynamite Collision match that was like 4.5, 4 3/4, like a match of the year candidate. It's been a while.
Yeah, I actually think it's an underrated talking point. Like, it's very apparent they produce their matches differently now, and they're a lot more cookie cut. There was a match a couple weeks back, Brian Cage and Claudio, and if you had those two fellas work the main event of an indie, they would do every single spot imaginable. I'm not saying I would love it, but they would do everything, and they had the most like Raw rolls on match ever. And it was freestyle. It was a nice little match, but like that wasn't generally the house style before. The house style before was you just would go berserk out there as long as much time as you had, you'd leave it all out there. So it is different, definitely.
And it's not even that long ago. Like I remember Cage, wasn't Cage and Claudio in that 3-way with Nick Jackson that rocked last year before that set up Nick Jackson and Ray Phoenix rematch? Yeah, that was a great matchup. But then they put them in a singles matchup, and you could tell, it's being produced differently on TV. Like they're like, don't do this, save that for the pay-per-view, which that's not the AEW that we got used to. Like, why are you changing up now?
Yeah.
We got Negro Buck in the chat who says that is a great point. I've been watching less and less weekly recently because I haven't been getting wild like we usually have been. You got to continue to bring that.
Yeah, because it's hard to go backwards. If you do 3 years of TV where everyone's doing every single move, it's hard to then go, okay, fellas, now let's rein this in. It's like especially because there's less energy now. So you haven't even got the
ROH, That's what Jim Cornette did when he came in and took over ROH. It was like, all that work rate stuff. No, grab a hold, lads. And like the fan base wasn't there for that, were they? They were there for you were there, SB3 in person. We were there for the big batches, weren't we? Same thing. Can't turn it back. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
You tweeted that comparison.
That's great. That's awesome.
Nobody clip this.
Clip it. Next, we got a matchup that I am sure we're gonna have some interesting comments about for the FTW Championship, a 3-way matchup for the World Championship. FTW champion Chris Jericho, the Learning Tree, will defend against the former champion Hook and Katsuyori Shibata. Jericho, of course, won the title from Hook at Dynasty. Since then, he has been opening up the Learning Tree to more followers like Big Bill, who joined up with him. But Hook has been on the hunt to get back his title, as well as Katsuyori Shibata, who lost to Jericho in an FTW Championship matchup, thanks to Big Bill. Both men are out for revenge and trying to take this title from the very delusional Chris Jericho right now, who thinks that he is the babyface, but he is not. And this is probably the most polarizing character and storyline in AEW, because if you go online, everybody hates this. But when you look at the ratings every week, it's always the highest rated segment. And I have been a person that I've been contrary to a lot of what I usually would believe in. And Jericho's out of the ring shenanigans has affected how I look at him on screen. But I can't deny I enjoyed the learning tree. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Maybe it's because so many people hate it that I'm just like, okay, he's figured it out. At least he's going into the reaction he got at Dynasty, and he's done something different because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, what have you thought about the build up for this match, the learning tree character, and who do you have winning on Sunday?
So I do think it's an improvement. The stuff he was doing before Dynasty was all time bad. And I think this is just bad. Which bravo. The issue is I can't pretend that any part of me wants to see him wrestle anyone on the roster. So it's like, for what purpose is it? And I get you said like the ratings. I don't follow it that closely. I'm told his quarter hours do well, which is good. But as someone watching the show, I don't know. I don't have much time for this, and honestly, he's not my only issue here. The Hook, the damage they've done to Hook for me personally as a viewer since the Joe match, I think is like extraordinary. I think and I'm not saying I was ever a huge fan, but they'd protected him and maintained his aura well enough, and then Samoa Joe let him kick out the Muscle Buster at 1. Like, they had him close, I think, to actually getting across the line and being one of those guys that actually jumps to the scene that's so kind of sparse at this point. And instead, I think this Jericho stuff has just totally exposed how limited he still is. And I don't even say that as like a scathing criticism, because how long has he been wrestling? 2 or 3 years? And let's be real, his 2 or 3 years are not a normal 2 or 3 years. He's had like 10 real matches, probably, if we're being honest about it. So I think this whole thing has been kind of a mess. Shibata is obviously it's Katsuyori Shibata. He's in this. I didn't like the triple threat match with Brian Keith on Wednesday, and I'd rather watch Brian Keith wrestle in 2024 than Jericho, and I didn't think that match was very good. So, like, I do not have high hopes for this. I assume Jericho wins with some kind of shenanigan. And I'd imagine like the crowd will do the please retire, and it will be part of the bit this time because he's leaned into it. So he's allowed himself to get away with that, right? You can't do it anymore. So I don't know.
That's my issue. Anybody who's into the Jericho stuff, you could ask, well, why are we doing it? We're doing it because of the real life issues that SB3 rightly brought up. We're doing it because people were sick of him, because people were turning on the segments. All of those things were true.
Yeah.
And he should be a babyface right now. That was the original plan. He's a heel because you can cover up the booze that he's getting and be like, well, he's meant to get that reaction now. That's all the reason behind it, and none of that has gone away. The real life allegations haven't gone away. The fact that everyone's sick of seeing Chris Jericho wrestle hasn't gone away. The fact that everyone's sick of every pay-per-view. Tony Khan has to get a Jericho match in. Every TV show, Jericho has to get a spot. I know that's become part of the gimmick. It's not going over my head. It's just also true. And it doesn't really make a difference. And yeah, I agree with it. He's dragging everybody down with him, really, in this program. You've got Shibata, who's basically a 2010s Raw gimmick at this point with his Google Translate on his phone. And you've got Hook, who absolutely was one of the guys that was protected over time. There's a rare breed of guys like that, guys that you can tell Tony Khan turns up to Dynamite and it's like, okay, what have we got for Orange Cassidy? What have we got for Darby? What are we doing with Hook? There was a constant focus, and he didn't lose interest like he did with, say, Takeshita and other people like that over the time. But yeah, they've lost the thread entirely with Hook, and yeah, I don't know where we are at this point with him.
Yeah, like Joe made a great point, made me remember that Joe matchup. And yeah, it looked like Hook was going to be like the next star that they focused on. And they fell into the trap of doing title match and then Jericho feud, which you literally just saw last year. That did not work with Ricky Starks. And that killed Ricky Starks' upward mobility in the company. And you did it again with Hook, and we are where we are. Yeah. And I personally, I like the Shibata phone gimmick.
I laugh when it happens. I do laugh, but it's still Shibata, you know. That's the issue.
Yeah, but I think that Jericho retains, unfortunately.
But like, it's not. Do they need this belt to still exist? I mean, really, they have 4 belts. Does this belt really
it's the most useless belt that they have. I don't know why they keep continuing to put it on a paper.
You had an eliminator for it to get to this match. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, half of the other title shots don't matter. Young Bucks were like, yeah, Christy can have a world title shot. FTW belt apparently so important. But yeah, I'm with you though. Jericho wins 100%.
Yeah.
We're all going for it. We're all saying Jericho wins this one.
Yep.
Joe.
Hopefully, Samoa Joe is not involved in any of this because, like, that is very alarming for me right now. My personal health and life is hanging over me. There are like 3 wrestlers I need preserved, and like when he entered that segment with Hook and Shivara, I was like, oh my god, they can't do this to us, but they might. So we'll see.
Jesus. Yeah, it's bad. Next up, we got a singles matchup. We're getting all the ones that I'm not really interested in out the way first. Orange Cassidy will go 1-on-1 with Trent Beretta in a straight up singles match, a straight up wrestling matchup, because AEW doesn't do straight up wrestling matches. But anyway, Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy have been associated in Best Friends for the last 5 years. They were in the tag team title tournament ahead of Dynasty, where Trent and Orange Cassidy lost to the Young Bucks via an exposed turnbuckle. This led to Trent finally kind of having the last straw in his friendship and turning against Orange Cassidy, laying him out with a running knee strike. He's talked about how Orange was supposed to be the mascot for the Best Friends, but he became the bigger star over the last couple of years, and Beretta has had this bitterness and jealousy towards him that has finally been cutting out. They had their first singles match on Dynamite a couple of weeks ago where Orange got the win with the exposed turnbuckle, but then Trent power drived him on the steel steps, catapulted him into the ring frame, and Orange Cassidy just standed up on his own feet and didn't get stretchered out. That was when I'd been over this rivalry ever since. Don Callis is involved in it because he's trying to recruit Orange Cassidy into the family. Benno, what have you thought about the build-up to Orange versus Trent 2, and who do you think wins?
I'm just really invested, SP3. Like, who's going to join Don Callis? Is it going to be career babyface Orange Cassidy? Or is it possibly going to be the heel here, who's fucking Tatanka in this story? Trent Beretta, who, by the way, find you somebody who loves you like Tony Khan loves Trent Beretta. Like, fuck me, does that guy get a lot of TV time comparative to his level of push? Are we really supposed to buy that there's even a chance that Orange Cassidy is going to take the $1 million man's money in this case, or Don Callis is invited to join the family? Yeah, it's like, I believed it when I was 10. Like, now, come on, guys, let's just get to the end. Let's get to the finish, and we'll do the turn. Not even a turn. We'll have the heel join Don Callis, and okay, off to the races we go. Like, it feels like a very long, slow setup to set up that more than anything, and that's why this match is on the pay-per-view, and it's the one that, if you ask me to just reel off the matches on this pay-per-view, it's the one I'd forget, because it is forgettable. You do feel like this feud peaked 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't think they should have done the singles match on Dynamite if they were going to do a straight up singles match.
It was like a week in, wasn't it? It was like a week into the turn. Yeah, it was crazy.
And I really don't get this one, and I will never forgive them for that whole angle where Orange Cassidy got power drive on the steel steps. Like, oh my god, that annoyed me so much. And it annoys me of the fact that, you know, we talked about JY being underutilized, but Orange Cassidy was the biggest babyface in this company 10 months ago. Like in September, if you get after All Out, he was the biggest babyface. He should have been pushed in the main event scene, and he's here. He's in a low card matchup with Trent Beretta at one of their biggest shows of the year. Joe, who do you have winning? What have you thought about the build to this match?
There's a lot of different factors here that are kind of limiting this, right? It's Trent. I get why on some level Tony has that that reverence for Trent, because he's a guy who like brings it physically, right? In terms of effort, the issue is he's just not particularly interesting, and that's okay if your creative is equipped to make a guy interesting and dress it up a little bit. But like, unless I missed it, they haven't really tried to do that with Trent. He's just out there being mad about the Best Friends, and he's Trent, right? Like, he's not going to be Ric Flair overnight. So it's like, it is what it is. The orange part of this is a bigger part of the issue, though, to me, in that like, there's a real fatigue there for me, and I hate it. I actually hate that when Orange comes out, I don't care. Like, I don't, as not saying I'm happy to say, I think he's a tremendous pro wrestler, and I think his 2023 was spectacular. But creatively, there was a refusal to kind of level up, to your point, right, about after All Out. And I think it's really hurt him. I think he would benefit from some time off, honestly. But I get they need all hands on deck. The finish feels like a lot. I mean, Benno kind of the Callis angle feels like a lock for the finish, right? And Trent gets a pay-per-view win, and that gives him the credibility to ultimately be a heel who loses all the matches he has on TV because he once beat Orange on pay-per-view. I have no doubt the eventual bloodbath they have after this will be tremendous. I have no doubt. It's just not very interesting. And I think that's a reflection of all those different factors combined for, as one. But yeah, I have no doubt the match will be pretty good. The last match was pretty good. It's just like this is probably going to be in between really important things. Like how much is Vegas going to care? Which, by the way, we should note that as a factor here. Last year's Vegas crowd fucking sucked, and it was a bigger crowd than this year's going to be. And like, that's a big deal with AEW shows. The vibe and the energy is like it almost makes or breaks some of these matches. So yeah, we'll see.
Honestly, I feel like they should put the Jericho matchup on the pre-show after last year, where Jericho and Cole killed that crowd. They were the second match out, and that match was awful, and it killed that crowd for the rest of the show until the Pillars came out there and just went completely nuts and got the crowd to wake up again.
You're right, yeah, because the first match was a battle royal, right, and then the second was Jericho and Cole. Yeah.
It was a great battle royal. That was with Orange and Swerve at the end. That was great.
Yeah, so the crowd will be interesting because this match will need a good crowd because it's just not. I mean, it's just there's not a lot of juice to it, unfortunately. Mechanically, it will be good, but there's not much more to it than that.
Honestly, I'm dreading the fact that I think that this is going to open the show because it's Orange Cassidy, and he always loves to open shows with Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, it might. It's probably a good guess. Yeah.
It's the only spot it can fit, isn't it? Like it's the only spot the crowd probably will be up for it. You put it any.
I would say second match.
Maybe there,
third.
yeah. Anything too late though, it's gonna die, isn't it? It's an uphill battle.
Yeah. Next up is a match that I was fairly interested in, but I don't know how I feel now, but we'll see. Jon Moxley, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, will go one-on-one with Konosuke Takeshita in a eliminator matchup. So if Takeshita wins, he gets a shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Reason why this match on paper, it's gonna bang. These two guys are just two great wrestlers. They've had great matches in the past, especially 2 years ago at Fyter Fest. So they will deliver in the ring. But the fact that this is not for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, it's a twofold. It's not as important as it could have been, but also the outcome seems somewhat less predictable now that it is an eliminator matchup. So I look at it from both perspectives, but what do you guys think about these two guys going at it? Not much to the build, because Takeshita came out after Moxley beat Hobbs for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, defending the title a couple of weeks back. And then he attacked Moxley after his tag team matchup against Fletcher and Cobb when he teamed up with Bryan Danielson 2 weeks ago. And then this past week, Takeshita destroyed Matt Sydal, and then Moxley came out and hit him with the microphone upside the head. Benno, what do you think about this eliminator matchup?
Yeah, it feels like when they did that first angle and Takeshita came out, I was excited. I was like, that's where the guy who pinned Kenny Omega and felt like a big deal in AEW for a short period of time should be. Like, if you just gave me this pay-per-view card and said, this is what Takeshita's doing at a Double or Nothing in 2024, he's working Jon Moxley for the IWGP title, I'd be like, perfect, that's exactly where that man should be. Fortunately, it doesn't cover up for the cracks in his booking over the last few months or so. And yeah, they've tried to heat it up, but it did feel like it kind of happened. Obviously, he was back in Japan, and then the company as a whole forgot about the story, and then he's back, and we heated it up again. But yeah, it felt like a obvious Moxley win, bit like when Moxley worked Hobbs and for the IWGP title, but the fact that it's eliminated does make it a little bit more interesting. I think we were looking on GRAPPL yesterday, the betting odds, and Takeshita looks like pretty much the favourite here to get a win, which is shocking, really, and makes it more exciting. So it'll be a great match. It's exactly where Takeshita belongs, and I actually think he might actually win, and that will give Moxley a more interesting defense than some of the run-of-the-mill defenses he's doing in Japan. That's for sure.
And this is another reason why I'm like begrudging about I'm in the middle on this matchup, is because I agree with you. I think Takeshita wins this one, but it's not that he's winning to set himself up for an extended push. My thinking is he's winning to be the third man in a Naito Moxley rematch so he could take the pin at Forbidden Door. That's why. because if you're New Japan and you're Gato, why would you have Naito, your number one guy, lose to Moxley twice in 2 months?
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. If Naito is going to be the guy that gets the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship matchup, this is completely killing Naito as your top draw in Japan. At least you could get Takeshita in there. He could take the
You
fall.
blow my mind. You are seeing
the
inside the brain of Tony Khan like that. That makes so much sense, and it makes even more sense because if you were going to do that, you might have heated Takeshita up over the last 3 months. But you know who wouldn't do that? Tony Khan. So it makes it even more true. It's yeah, I believe you. It's happening. Yeah, if that doesn't happen, I'll be shocked. Good for Takeshita. But fuck.
You know, good. You beat another former world heavyweight champion. You beat Jericho Omega, and now you would beat Moxley. Joe, who do you think gets the win here, and what have you thought about this shaky buildup?
Well, that has swayed me a little bit, but I'm just going to stick to my guns and assume Mox will choke him unconscious like he does everyone else. I assume just kind of bluntly beat him to death and and win the match. But I mean, this is like this show in a nutshell, right? It's like this match is going to be great. These are both great wrestlers, as you mentioned. They've had great matches together. Has the TV enhanced or assisted your excitement about this match? Absolutely not. It's just ticking boxes. We have set up this match. We have built this match, and that's all it is. And that will limit your excitement some. But look, when the bell rings, it's still Takeshita and Moxley. Like no bell, whatever you want, like however you dress it up, it's going to be a killer match. So super physical. I think Mox does win, and I honestly think this is just a political weirdness. Is my guess. I could be completely wrong. But I do agree, like, it's cool that the Eliminator thing does give it some unpredictability, right? It gives it some doubt there. I agree with that point. So, yeah, we'll see. But I think the match will obviously be tremendous. No doubt about that.
Yeah, and yeah, you might be right about Moxley getting the win, because if Tony Khan's been on social media as much as we know he is, he's seen what Takeshita said in his interview, and he's not happy. But
he was right, by the way.
He was 100% right.
Yeah.
They fumbled him ridiculously after him getting those wins over Omega. It was between him and Orange who was fumbled more after All Out last year. But here we are.
And Ricky Starks too, who had a classic strap match with Bryan Danielson. No.
Remember him? Remember that guy? Oh man. But finally, we got a match that I am looking forward to. I have no issues with. Finally on this card for the AEW International Championship, Roderick Strong defends against Will Ospreay. Ospreay won the Casino Gauntlet a couple of weeks back on AEW Dynamite to become the #1 contender for the International Championship. These two men had a splendid backstage interview face-to-face last 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, where Ospreay talked about how Roderick Strong has never respected him and used to talk down to him back in his PWG and Ring of Honor days. And Roddy said, yes, he never has respected Will because he's a child. He is not a man, despite having a family that he is fighting for here in AEW. And Ospreay wants to prove himself to Roderick Strong by taking his international championship. They also had a great tag team matchup this week on Dynamite, where after the matchup, Roddy and the Undisputed Kingdom jumped Ospreay, split him open with the international championship. And now Ospreay says that he is connected to that title because it has his blood on it. Will Ospreay can sell me. He could sell me a seat on the Brooklyn Bridge during rush hour, because this guy has been one of the best promos in professional wrestling this year. And his promo that they put on social media was great with the blood in his face. I think the only thing that has been missing from the buildup is why Ospreay wants the international championship. But I think that they're probably going to explain that after he wins the international championship at this point. But Joe, what have you thought about the build? Who do you think wins?
Well, I will put aside right away, and I'll establish that I think it's kind of silly. This is where Ospreay's like going, and I think the fact that he probably isn't winning the world title at Wembley, I think, is like insane. But we'll put that aside because that is what it is at this point, right? Like this is where they've gone. I think they've done a good job with the build.
Because It's the performers that are in control here, Joe. It's not Tony, because this is what I was told this is what Will wanted a year ago. A year ago,
Well,
when it looked like Will was going to come to AEW, I got told by one of his best friends that, he wants to win the international championship and get it back. And like November last year, I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. I told him, I don't think that's a good idea.
I believe it, but yeah, it's But putting that aside,
Wow.
I think the build's been pretty good. I thought they had a killer. That face-to-face segment, that's the best Roddy Strong. I mean, Roddy's one of my all-time favorites, but he ain't, he ain't a great promo guy, obviously. He was serious. He felt like a guy who believed he was going to win. He stressed that Ospreay's very dumb, which I think was cool. So there was a lot to like in that. Great intensity. They felt like guys who were going to go in there and fight. And that's why I think, we used the word excited. This is the match I would circle if you said, what's the one you actually really want to see? I think, obviously, physically, the potential of what these two can do with each other in 2024 is outrageous. This could be a very special match. But I also think there's other factors that help this, right? Like, Ospreay is really the one guy, maybe one of 2 or 3 guys that, like, the energy's different when he's out there. The people feel a certain way about him right now. And on the other side of the fence, this is really Roddy's first chance to have one of, like, those matches in AEW. He's a pro. So you watch the Kyle O'Reilly match. I thought they had a hell of a match, but they wasn't wrestling to try and have, like a classic. They were being physical and being mechanical, right? Having a good wrestling match. This is not that. This is like a big one. This is Will Ospreay. So I'd imagine this thing is going to be spectacular. Obviously, Ospreay is winning, and that goes without saying. But I really hope this kind of changes Roddy's AEW run, because it's been really frustrating, man. As a big fan of his, he feels like a guy who's perfect for the Tony Khan booking formula of just like, let's do matches. And he's hardly wrestled. Yeah. So I'm really hoping this will change things for him. But look, regardless, I'm genuinely excited for this. This will be great.
Match of the night written all over it. Like, this is, I don't think you need to tell any of us three, like, the ceiling on Roddy's song is very high. He is somebody who we've all seen, our match of the year candidates for pretty much 20 years of his career.
Yep.
And stylistically, this is a perfect match for Roderick Strong. Like, he's always been that guy with the engine, that guy who can turn it up and go at that pace. That's Will Ospreay's comfort zone. Like, I think this is going to be clearly 4.5 is probably the minimum for me. I'm expecting out of this match with these two. And you're right, that's the thing with Roddy. And it's like, to rewind a bit, like, when they first announced this, felt the same way as you, Joe. It was like, Ospreay just came off the Bryan match and he's interested in the international title. To your point, SB3, who cares if that was his idea a year ago? Who cares if it was Tony Khan's headcanon? You've got to go with it. What's he doing going for one of the many mid-card belts? So I was like, match will be good, but I don't really care about, like, the build. They've actually made me reverse that opinion. There was even there was that segment where I think Ospreay, I can't remember who was working. I think it was on Collision, and Roddy was on commentary doing like his normal comedy shtick, and it was like, this is making me less interested in the match. Yeah. And then the Dynamite after, they did that face to face, and I just did a complete 180 on it. So excited for it now. They made it a personal issue. They made it about their own history together. And on top of that, it's going to be a fantastic match, yeah? I'm all the way in now. And I didn't expect to say that when it first looked like this was on the docket.
100% agreed, and I think we're all going with Will Ospreay to win this championship. Mm-hmm. And literally, all I need is for Will to just say, "I'm going to win every title in this company."
Yes,
that's it. That's all I need him to say. That's all I need him to say. Like, I don't understand why we couldn't get 3 seconds of that in the build. Just him saying, "This is the first title of many I'm going to win in this company."
Yeah.
I'm gonna
we want that, but does Tony Khan want that? Tony Khan loves belts, you know.
It's so true. It's so true. But he even set himself up to kind of complete it, where he said, "I'm internationally known as the best wrestler in the world, and now I'm going to be the international champion."
Right.
Well, I hope they do. Like, I do want the belts to go back to having like a distinct identity, which is something that I think's really fallen on. I mean, Copeland still is like kind of keeping that TNT deal alive in that regard. But like, what is the difference between the international and the continental? It's like, I don't know, man.
You have to think, don't you?
Yeah,
we all do a lot of audio and a lot of video, but I constantly catch myself going, is it international? Right, that's it. And I forget, like, because they are interchangeable completely. It could be any belt.
Yeah, there is no difference between those two titles other than the name. Other than the name, that's the only difference. Hassan saying Strong versus Jericho was my introduction to Roderick, one of my favorite AEW matches. And yeah, he hasn't had that like high quality match like
No.
that, or had the opportunity to give that. Like you said, the Dynasty matchup with Kyle O'Reilly, I thought was really good,
Oh
but you
yeah,
could tell they were trying to have a match that was different from everything else on the card, and they did that. And it
yeah,
was great for what it was. But this is his opportunity to have a showcase matchup, because
right.
yeah, like I think Six Star said it in the chat. Will Ospreay is the ace of this company. Like I saw people asking that question on online, like, oh, they need to build the real star of the ace of the company. I was like, it's Will Ospreay. Like
Right
it's
there.
quite
Oh yeah,
obvious.
I think it's undeniable. I mean, and it's not even like I'm like personally attached to it. It's just if you watch the show, it's like very apparent he's the guy, right? I mean, it's like listen to the reaction he gets, the promos he cuts, the matches he has, like it's right in front of you. So yeah, I
So
just hope they
true.
don't wait too long, dude. That's the big. I hope they don't wait so long that he eventually just feels like one of many rather than the guy. I don't think it will happen because I think he's that special, but they're gonna wait a long time regardless, so they'll test the theory.
I really feel like him winning the international championship, he could defend it as much as he wants, but him versus Swerve with him as the champion. And then I think that would leave the door open for my idea of he doesn't win the title at Wembley this year.
Right.
You do the Cody Roman booking. He loses this year to set up the bigger payoff next year.
I don't think they're going to wrestle firstly, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah,
No.
But I just think they need to, they need something right now. I'll put it that way. I'll put it politely. They need something right
beggars
now.
can't be choosers. Like that,
Yeah.
you've got a hot. It's like bring up Swerve. Like Swerve's the other example. Like Swerve was arguably a month or two too late. Like I feel like the peak of Swerve as a character in AEW had passed, and I'm glad we got there eventually. But you can see
sure.
history repeating right in front of you. When you've got a hot hand and you've got something that would be exciting like Swerve and Ospreay. When you're AEW in 2024, like I don't think you can resist that. I don't think you can afford to go, oh, we'll get to that down the line. Like they shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth with Ospreay. And yeah, he's the best promo in the company, best wrestler in the company, and he's probably the most over right now. Like, what more do you need?
Very true. Next up, we got the AEW Women's World Championship up for grabs. Timeless Toni Storm defends against Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb has been undefeated since her return to AEW in December of 2023, and she has been targeting championship gold. It was after Dynasty that Serena Deeb made it clear she was coming after the Women's World Championship. She got through, overcame seizures and a whole bunch of issues in 2023 to make her return, but the crowd didn't seem to care. Timeless Toni Storm is very, very popular. She's been the babyface for a while. You only had one last over babyface beside her that you already kind of exhausted that feud last month at Dynasty with Thunder Rosa. Serena Deeb, I don't understand why it took them so long to figure out that Serena Deeb would be the heel in a rivalry with Timeless Toni Storm. It's absolutely baffling to me that it wasn't until this week that she did a heel turn with a high heel and then put her in the single crab with the chair on her back to really confirm that she is the heel heading into Sunday. It just feels like it's just obvious things right now. I think that's the main issue with the build to Double or Nothing. It seems like the most obvious things to everybody, including the fans, has not been obvious to this company. And Serena Deeb being the heel here is like the biggest mind blown of this entire card. Even all the matches that I wasn't interested in, this is a bigger mind blown to me that they only figured it out the last week. Benno, what have you thought about the build? What do you think wins?
That's exactly it, and it's Tony back. I felt like they picked a lane and then they switch it on you. It's like, is she a heel? Is she a face? We're obviously doing the Mariah May story as well. It's all very convoluted when it didn't need to be. And yes, Serena is, she's the heel now, but 3 weeks ago was cutting that promo about her real life, struggles with real life health issues that made her the babyface. So again, you go back to that question of investment. How could you be invested in that character? The match will be good. It'll probably be in the upper end, I think, of like Toni Storm's defenses. Serena does feel like challenger of the month, But I absolutely agree with you. They could have, if they'd have just stuck to one lane and just stuck to the basics with this, they could have heated Serena up quite a bit better than this slapdash, last week build they've now had to give it. But match will be good. That's kind of like the token line, isn't it, with this show? And I'm glad Serena's in the position. I rate her very, very highly, especially as an in-ring wrestler. But yeah, absolutely with you on that 100%.
Joe, what have you thought?
Well, I'm famous for my positivity, so I'm just glad they figured it out. You guys are worried about being the last week. Come on, guys. This is a triumphant show. I think they figured it out. Look, I was genuinely convinced they wasn't going to change it. So I'm not. I'm only like half joking. If I'm being, I just assumed this was just what they were going to do because they've done it before.
Yeah.
But I feel real bad for Serena Deeb in that, like, bell to bell, she's really that good.
Yeah.
And I think there are many wrestlers that, like, the rest of their game is limited in a way that you can kind of obscure. But like, she really is limited outside the ring, and it's hard. And I think it was a bummer when the promo segment went the way it did, because I didn't even think her delivery was like bad. It's just people just don't care to see her out there talking to them, and it's like that sucks, right? Like that's. And let me be clear, I don't think creative has exactly done her a favor. I don't think she's been booked greatly, and she's failed to meet that book, and it's just I'm not sure that Serena Deeb is ever going to be someone that's like consistently on TV and the people respond. And that's a bummer, because the division will be much better for her being a regular feature in this scene, because this match will be good. And it's, like, I have no doubt about that. I think Serena will bring the best out of Tony. And Tony's been better as of late in the ring anyway. So I'm hopeful about the match. Tony's for sure winning, because Serena, like you said, just the latest contender. But the real thing to me here is it going to be good, or is it going to be so good that there's an actual shift in the way people perceive Serena Deeb? Because unfortunately, not everyone that goes to these shows listens to podcasts like this or whatever it may be. Like, to a lot of the audience, she has no identity or personality to them. And it's a shame, dude. She's fucking awesome, but she can't get over the hump in that regard. It's a shame.
I just stick to the pre-tape. She does great in those pre-tapes and the
For
vignettes
sure.
that they do. She's always really good at that. And I thought when they did the kind of the vignettes before she returned, I thought she was gonna lean into the professor gimmick and probably get like a Camille or a Megan Bain. These two big women that we've been hearing might sign with AEW. They could be like the heater for her, and that's what she needs. She needs someone to play off of. I think that's what Serena Deeb really needs, because you've seen Toni Storm. She has all the people to play off of, and that's why she's the biggest character in the women's division right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
I'm going to go, of course, with Timeless Toni Storm to get the victory. But what do you think is next for Timeless Toni Storm? Because she's kind of in this kind of challenger of the month stage of her title reign. And I feel like we're leading into either one of two things. One of two people is going to take this title off of her. Either they're still going to try to make her a heel and you have Jamie Hayter return to beat her, or you just go with the flow of what the crowd is reacting, make her the babyface, and speed up the turn by Mariah May on her.
I think that's what we're waiting for, the Mariah May thing. They probably, I guess Jamie should be back for All In, so surely that would be the match.
We haven't heard anything about the timeline, unfortunately.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why we're in stasis, and we'll do the Mariah May thing there instead. It's hard to say. She's very clearly the biggest star in the division, and she should be the champion. And I'm not complaining that there's a challenger of the month. This is the way you book a successful, star of the division champion. It's just pick that lane, face or heel, and sort the long-term direction. But it could be the real life situation that's stopping them doing that.
Yeah, certainly could be. The Jamie thing is, it's weird. I don't know the deal there, right? Like, I don't think anyone does fully know the deal there. It's been a long time, man. It's a bummer. It's been a year.
Yeah. And we didn't hear anything really when she got hurt. We never got like a confirmation of what she hurt really. And then she gets off of television, and then we haven't heard any type of update or timeline. Like we got an update on MJF yesterday and didn't get an update on Jamie Hayter still.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Next one is a match that, if you ask me, coming out of Dynasty, even though I thought the match at Dynasty was very good, I would have said, okay, yeah, that's going to be the match at Double or Nothing. I don't know if I'm going to be interested in it, but I think they did a really good job with the build up to this matchup. Barbed wire steel cage matchup for the TNT Championship. Adam Copeland defends against Malachi Black. It was the House of Black that got the victory over Copeland, Kingston, and Briscoe at Dynasty, with Malachi spinning the miss into Copeland's face. And we've seen Copeland draw more and more into his aggressive and dark side. Malachi says that Copeland has been made weak by having a family and having, a wife and kids. They've weakened him, so he is doing his best to bring him back to the dark side, including jumping him 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, taking his wedding ring, the symbol of his family, from him. And then this past week on Dynamite, Copeland got a measure of revenge by leaning into his old dark side by giving Malachi a bloodbath. We've had good matches and great matches in the lead up to this, like Copeland versus O'Reilly or Black versus O'Reilly on Dynamite. I'm really going to give them credit because there's been a lot of negativity and toxicity when it comes to Copeland being in AEW, but I've said it a couple of times. I've really enjoyed everything he's done. I thought the Christian feud gave us some of the best television AEW was doing at that time. And I thought that this rivalry and the build up to this matchup overachieved from what I thought it was going to be. Benno, what have you thought about the build up? What do you have with it?
I totally echo your thoughts on Copeland. He is not my favorite wrestler in the world. Him and Randy Orton at WrestleMania is one of the worst matches I've ever seen. He's never been my guy. I was probably one of those haters, I've got to say, when he came into AEW. But I was kind of that with Christian as well, maybe not to the same degree. And I massively turned around on Christian being in AEW. Maybe it was just the push that he got coming in. Same with Cope. But with Cope, he's kind of just won me over slowly. It's been just that. He seems like a nice guy who gets it, understands his space in the world. No, he's not a mega draw, but he's just going to go out there and he's going to work hard and he's going to force his way into our hearts and minds and go out there and do good work. And that's what he's been doing with younger wrestlers. And I'd like to see him, there's got to come a point where he's got to start losing to those younger wrestlers. That's not an emergency, but we should get there eventually. But overall, he's doing good stuff and he's bringing people along with him. He's not been a negative on the shows, and yeah, I think he just seems like one of those well-adjusted kind of older wrestlers who knows his place in the world. He doesn't want to be the main event. He doesn't want to be the total focus of all the shows, but he can contribute, and he has. He's contributed overall, and I've enjoyed him. This feud isn't for me. Spookiness in wrestling and basically any idea Malachi Black ever has. Back to the days when he was Tommy End. He was Tommy Bellem for me for years. His spooky I'm the hardest man in the world at the same time character has never been for me. He's the world's worst E-Fed wrestler. When you're being an E-Fed and there'd be like a guy who'd be like, I'm the hardest, I beat the fuck out of everybody, I know karate, and also I'm spooky like the Undertaker, and he does all of those things. I don't think the man's ever had a good idea, but people seem to like him, and this feud has gotten there. And plus, he's not gonna have to lose because he can, we could escape the cage or find some other way for him not to take a pinfall. So he gets that too. But yeah, against my will, and with Cope, not there with Malachi Black. But I think the match is at least interesting and different on the show. I assume a Cope win. I assume a Black loss, and that'll make him 3-1 for the year. Great work if you can get it, Tommy End.
What have you thought about the build up here? I see a couple of people on your side of the world. Andrew saying, "Joe, you're gonna let this happen?"
Yeah, I didn't have to worry. I knew Benno was setting him up. I knew it was coming. Lined him up with a jab, right hand over the top. Works a treat. I saw that Tommy Bellin coming from a mile away. I was ready. They've tried it. They've given it their best. That's all you can ask for. We talk about a lot of these matches and there's nothing there. There is stuff here. They've built the match. Objectively, they've done a lot here, and they have a clear idea of what they want this to be. I think a lot of what they want it to be is horse shit, but that's okay. There's an audience for it. It's not the kind of wrestling I want to watch, but at least they have actual ideas as to how they're going to dress up. They're not just going to have a match, because I don't want to see them just have a match. I have no interest in such a thing. So, I mean, this could be ridiculous. Look at the stipulation. The stipulation will make or break this in terms of whether they can convince the audience they're going to bite on the barbed wire drama and all that good stuff. length is something to be very concerned with here, because I don't think Malachi has the gas tank to have the kind of matches that Copeland's been having as of late. I don't even mean that as a knock. It's like he's going 20 minutes against everyone. Like if I got in there, it'd be, dragging me over the finish line, So length's something to look for. Stipulation is an issue. But like ultimately, Copeland on just sheer will, I'd imagine, will make this watchable. Hopefully, we have our fun. Hopefully, Malachi has like a really strong performance, and it's one of those ones where you go, "Well, maybe like there's still life here." Because I'm not convinced, to be honest, but I haven't had much chance to see. Right? He doesn't wrestle much. Like I thought he was pretty good in the. There was one tag with FTR. I thought he was very unfortunate, but there was a couple of trios matches where he seemed to enjoy being in there with Garcia. Every time I see him, he looks like he has a different amount of energy and motivation. So you assume he'll be fired up for this, right? It's Edge in Vegas. Like, I assume he'll be on his best behavior. So hopefully it's good. Build hasn't been for me, but at least they've done stuff and dressed it up and given it some juice, I guess.
If Gangrel comes out, do you change your mind, Joe? Like, I feel like that'd turn round. Brood entrance, wouldn't get you.
Come on, the Brood entrance.
I'm sorry to do this. I'm happy for everyone who's excited about Gang. I cannot believe the Gangrel is a thing that I'm like, I'm supposed to be like anticipating in this day and age. Gangrel, man. Good lord. The wrestling timeline.
People act like Rude Edge was this long period of his career. It wasn't. It was a couple of months.
And but it's like I'm not going to tweet about it because I want people like good for people that are excited about Gangrel. But it's just like, geez, 25 years ago. Like, come on, man.
I already called for the spot yesterday on our review. It said you gotta have Julia. If she's gonna be in an arm brace or whatever, she's gotta be ringside. So you have Gangrel spit the blood into Buddy's face, and then he turns around to Julia, spitting the mist into his face. That's how you do a Gangrel spot on this match.
The crowd will like it, right? Like
exactly.
He'll get a nice payday. God bless him. I'm not gonna be like mad about it. I just think I think there's it's a conversation we won't have here because God forbid, but the way that the wrestling eras are like chronicled, I find to be fascinating. Like when Carlito gets like a Legends deal, I think we ought to start investigating these matters,
Very true. We got Fire Giant Finisher. It said, depending on how big the crowd is, defines Edge's energy. I like Edge. I think that he just needs to pick and choose who he's doing these 20-minute matches with. 20 minutes with Brody King, that was great. 20 minutes with Buddy Matthews the week before that, not so good. So like
that was the thing is with that match was like it wasn't just length. That was just they had a very strange layout for that match because Buddy kind of wrestled babyface. It was a really weird match.
Coughing up blood, and then I was like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah, they just got that one all wrong, completely wrong. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, it's time to tap in to the triple main event. TBS Championship up for grabs. Many people have been trying to rally behind this matchup to be the main event of this Sunday's card, as Willow Nightingale will defend the TBS Championship against Mercedes Mone in a match that is 1 year in the making. It was last year at NJPW Resurgence. The inaugural NJPW Strong Women's Champion was crowned between these two ladies as Mercedes got injured in the matchup and lost in the match, and in a match that was for a title that was basically made for her. And Willow won because Mercedes got hurt. Mercedes recovered and returned not to New Japan, but to AEW, debuting at AEW Big Business in Boston, and clearly still had some animosity towards Willow Nightingale, who was on her way to defeating Julia Hart at AEW Dynasty to become the TBS champion to set up this one-on-one encounter. And since Dynasty, AEW finally figured out Mercedes is heel. Wow, what a mind blown. It's not like every single company she has been in before this decided that she was going to be a heel first off. But yeah, Tony Khan finally figured it out. And now we've actually had a solid build-up with the contract signing, which really put the thumbs up. And my daughter's coming in here. Yes, I know. I know.
The power of
She's-
Mone.
she-
Big Willow fan.
She's looking exactly. She's looking forward to this matchup as well. Mercedes and Willow have done pretty solid promo work, especially Willow. Willow has been elevated in this rivalry here, and the contract signing really put the bow on this. With Willow putting the final line of the last time they were in the ring together, she walked out a champion, while Mercedes didn't walk out at all, and we finally saw Mercedes take a bump through the table to end that. So I thought that they ended this as at the peak. That's why they didn't need to do an angle on Wednesday. They just showed the video package because they weren't going to get any better than that contract signing. What have you thought about the build? Do you think wins?
Oh, we're losing SP. I don't know which of us he pitched to. Yeah.
I know. I said Joe.
Okay.
Who do you?
Okay.
Willow or Mercedes, and who do you think? What have you thought about the build up to the matchup?
Okay, thank you. I was very alarming there. We had to make a decision for ourselves. It was very scary.
Dad wasn't here.
Yeah, I was very. But I think they've done a good job of kind of recuperating and putting together kind of cobbling something together that's been actually good. Because honestly, at one point this was very concerning, and the way this was trending was alarming, I thought. And I think in the end it's come out well. Has it come out well enough that this feels like the main event match? No, to be totally honest. And I think that is still an indictment and unfortunate. But the big story, I think one of the biggest stories of Double or Nothing going in is Willow Nightingale. She actually feels like one of the wrestlers that's making that jump from maybe she's going to be really good one day to she's getting there. Like she's actually on that. So now they need to follow up on that because I don't think she's winning here. But she's the main story, I think. In theory, Mercedes and Willow is the kind of feud that you can get many, many months out of, right? In theory. The only concern I have here is that they overcomplicate this finish because there's a few different factors at play, right? You've got Chris and Stokely, which could be tied to or could not be tied to whoever it was that attacked Mercedes a month ago in that dark room that I don't think has really been talked about much, but I assume will be a factor at some point. So I hope they don't overcomplicate the finish. I don't think the one thing I would say is a wrong finish. Mercedes winning clean, I think, is just I don't think does anything for anyone.
Thank you. I literally said that on our review yesterday. I was like, the worst possible outcome to this is Mercedes winning clean.
Yeah, I just don't see what you gain from that. I think the way to do it is probably Mercedes takes a shortcut of some kind to get the title, and then you have Willow chase, and you have a real program. And the goal there would be let's actually cement Willow as like the top star in the division, and honestly, one of the top stars in the company. I think that's her ceiling. I really believe that she's capable of that. How she's taken to this feud and how she's felt like a main eventer in this feud is remarkable. She has no experience doing contract signing in-ring promos. They're like, she's special. They cannot mess up Willow Nightingale. So that's the key here. Mercedes, obviously, there's a ton of pressure. I'm not going to try and I think some of that stuff could be dramatic because ultimately, look, she ain't wrestled in a year. It ain't an ideal situation. Let's be real. Like, she's had a 10-week build-up for this match, and they kind of need it to be great. If we're being right, I don't think I need to stress that. I think everyone already is aware. So, yeah, match quality is key. Finish is key. I'm going to take Mercedes by cheating. I think there's a lot of different factors. You mentioned Megan Bain earlier. Don't be surprised if Mercedes gets herself a heater. I think there's some different pieces at play here. So this is an interesting one. I am excited for this.
Yeah, I'll give my prediction now. I think Mercedes wins with her new heater, Camille.
Oh,
I think that's where you do, and then you could set up the Camille and Mercedes versus Willow and Statlander. You could play with that as a rivalry, but eventually, I don't think it's this pay-per-view is the right time for Chris and Stokely. Even though I really wanted Chris and Stokely to just be aligned with Mercedes, I wanted Mercedes to take everything from Willow, including her title and her heaters, her mouthpiece, and her best friend. That would have been cruel, but I think that this was a good spot for like Camille to come in and be like the heater for Mercedes, and Mercedes gets the win. Benno, what have you thought about the build? Who do you think wins?
I've ended up loving it. I'm with Joe 1,000,000%. Willow Nightingale is the guy. As far as this promotion goes, sometimes in wrestling you plan ends up not being the way to go. And clearly the plan was for Mercedes to be the star of the women's division that was finally going to take the women's division and make it a serious thing in AEW. And then right under your nose at the perfect time, you got a babyface like Willow Nightingale rising. And it's been perfect for her because, yeah, Mercedes hasn't been great in a lot of the segments that they've done since her debut. The promos haven't been great. The entrances haven't been great. They're obviously leaning into that now, that very stylized WWE, I'll do my pose now, I'll do that catchphrase now. All of that stuff feels like it's on purpose. If it's not, she's the most, delusional person on planet Earth. I doubt it. I think even she knows that this is the way to go as a character. And as you've said, SP3, she's always been better as a heel. So that being the other side of the coin has allowed Willow Nightingale to carry this feud as the babyface and be that justified face that everybody actually wants to see win here. But then at the same time, it's not a disaster if she does lose, because you can do the hijinks, you can do the turn, you can do something with Stokely or the other pieces you guys mentioned there, and then we get a rematch somewhere down the lane where Mercedes is the heel definitively, and Willow's chasing her, and that will be perfect too. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for what's to come over the summer, with these two more than anything, with the both of them definitively in the right spot as well. The only niggling doubt yet is absolutely Mercedes in ring, having been gone for so long. It's going to be an uphill battle for her. I do think as well, despite the very obvious, keys that she's going to be the heel, the crowd are going to be excited to see her in ring. I hope that doesn't affect Willow, and I hope the crowd don't go too hard with Mercedes. But for me, yeah, it's less about this match and more about what we do over the summer. And I can imagine Wembley All In, Willow gets the title back or beats Mercedes in the defining feud ender, and then gets set up as the top star of the division that she should be. I'm excited for all of that to happen.
100% agree with what both of you guys said. And another tidbit, I would like Mercedes to wear the same outfit she wore last year at Resurgence.
Ooh.
I think that would be a
Good.
nice little story to add to the night. But yeah, I agree with both of you guys. Willow has really established herself as the next star of the women's division in this rivalry.
Yeah.
Next,
She's
we
very-
got the second.
for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Next, we got the second of our triple main event. Swerve Strickland will defend the AEW World Championship against Christian Cage. Christian Cage was named the #1 contender via the Young Bucks, the EVPs of AEW, after Strickland said that their move attacking Tony Khan was a bitch move. Got Swerve on the wrong side of the EVPs, who named Christian, a great Canadian wrestler, as the #1 contender. And Christian has a personal gripe with Swerve Strickland after Swerve lost at Wembley Stadium in their tag team matchup against Sting and Darby, coffin match in Wembley at All In last year. Christian wanted revenge on him for that, and the fact that Swerve attacked his son, Nick Wayne, which led to a great angle in the build up to this matchup where Nick Wayne and Killswitch attack Swerve, and Nick Wayne was able to get a measure of revenge after cracking Swerve's family portrait over his head in the similar fashion that Swerve did to Nick Wayne in his home gym last year ahead of All In. Christian has taken a piece of Swerve every week in the lead up to this matchup. First week taking his dreadlock, the next week having Mogul Embassy turn against Swerve and taking his faction away, taking his blood away from him after the cracked photo over his head, calling him an absentee father, and how Christian will be there for his daughter after all of this is done. But it didn't stop Swerve from getting a measure of revenge on Dynamite this week, turning the tables against the patriarchy, having Prince Nana stop Christian Cage from escaping, laying him out on the car before Christian escaped. I've really enjoyed the build up to this matchup, despite it not feeling like the #1 story in AEW, which I think Swerve needs, because Swerve really feels early on in his run already like his all-time rival, Hangman Adam Page, AEW world title run. It really feels like this, and it really feels like Christian is Adam Cole all over again. It feels like the Adam Cole Hangman feud in a lot of ways, but Christian is just so entertaining. I love Christian, so I've enjoyed a bunch of this build-up. Benno, what have you thought, and who do you think wins?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And that, like, I'm absolutely a Swerve guy. Like, going back to the indie days, back to when he was Killshot on Lucha Underground, that guy's always been special, and he's extra special now. And I would be front of the line wanting him to be AEW World Champion. But yeah, it hasn't been great. And I think with somebody like him who wasn't perfectly hot going into winning the belt, he felt like he cooled off a little bit. He's not someone who's established as a world champion. In another month at another time, you can do this Christian match. I don't think it was the right first opponent because Christian is somebody. Maybe if they'd put the work in, maybe if Christian's last appearance on TV wasn't losing his other belt, if maybe there'd been a couple of months of Christian winning big matches and being set up as like somebody that it would mean something for Swerve to beat, I think that'd be a lot better because yeah, the teetering with Swerve, and you really need to be all hands on deck to get him over the hump to be the guy in AEW, and he hasn't felt with like the guy in AEW. That said, all the work has been good. Christian's been good. There was a little bit too much heat for me in the first couple of weeks of this. Like, felt like Swerve was getting beaten down every Dynamite for about 3 weeks in a row. But we've turned that round the last couple of weeks. Swerve has felt a little bit more like a main character and a little bit more confident and a little bit more the guy that we all wanted to be in this role. But it does feel a little bit, WWE Backlash. It feels like, your world champion wins, who the face of Backlash, Kane or the Big Show or somebody like that. Christian's kind of in that upper mid card role rather than being like, okay, Swerve is now facing the real main eventers as the real focus of this company as the real world champion. I'm not even confident it goes on last. Hence, obviously the order we're talking about this, and I don't think you can afford to do that with Swerve. He needs to be a going on last, most important thing in the promotion type of world champion. And yeah, you brought up Hangman, and there's other guys like that. AEW's not always great at doing that, and I'm a little bit worried about Swerve's run at this point, as great as he is and as much as I want him to be the guy.
Yeah,
Yes, 100% agree with you, Joe.
Yeah, I have to echo it all. I mean, it's tough. Like, I'm deeply in love with Christian Cage, but it's hard to ignore the. It doesn't feel like the. It doesn't feel like the biggest match on the show by any means. It feels like it would be the third choice to close the show, and that's I think a reflection of the build, but also a reflection of where these guys are currently at. And that's okay for Swerve. It's just the issue is he's now the world champion, so it's not anymore okay, right? It's like it's not an indictment of his talent. The reality is there's been 5 weeks of TV to build this. Unless I'm mistaken, fellas, the Elite angle was closed all 5 episodes of Dynamite.
Absolutely, it has. That's why I said there's only one of these triple main events that feels like the main event to me.
Because the reality, that's the one they've told us is the main event. They've told us it over and over and over again. The one thing I would say about Swerve's reign thus far, I think his performance has been tremendous. It's just booking wise, I agree they went heat heavy, and also gotta be a little careful with the guys that he's selling for in matches, dude. Like I know they think a lot of Nick Wayne. He's 18 years old, but like that match, honestly, at this point should be a squash for Swerve. Like, and I get that's not. I don't want to do that. I understand it. There's history there. They had great matches in Defy. This ain't Defy, and he's the world champ. And to the AEW audience, Nick Wayne is like just a goon that stands with Christian. They don't need to go 8 minutes, 9 minutes. So gotta be careful with that stuff. He had a match with Carl Fletcher that I thought had a similar issue. So like all of that's booking. Performance wise, I think these two guys have been great.
I'm sorry, you gave me PTSD. He faced Carl Fletcher on his first show as champion and didn't have a microphone in his hand. And he was the
second segment.
He was the fourth. No, he was
fourth.
The Elite show up. They did Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor angle. Then they did a Moxley promo. And then they did Swerve in a match without touching a mic. I will never forgive them for that.
No.
Carl Fletcher is the Ring of Honor television champion. That's a pretty big matchup, actually. You don't know if you're on.
I'm looking forward to Swerve cashing in on that title shot that surely he gets now that he beat Carl Fletcher. He's excited for that.
I think both guys have been great in the feud. I think match-wise, because Swerve's a guy who I love the idea of Swerve. I don't always actually love his matches, but I think he's a superstar without actually always loving the mechanics of what he does. I'm very confident Christian will highlight the things that I enjoy about him and the roughness that he brings and the things. I think in a different promotion, this is the kind of pairing that you'd have like these guys work every weekend on house shows for 2 months. I think Swerve better rest. The issue is it's going to be a one and done on pay-per-view, and that'll be that, right? Because it's a different promotion. Yeah, I think the match will be killer. Obviously, Swerve's winning it. That's the issue. Is there's no jeopardy there. It's just like it's a title defense for Swerve. So they've struggled to overcome that, even though there's a lot of good here within that. So we'll see.
And no slight, just to answer as well, no slight on Christian either. Like,
Right.
Christian's been great. This would be great 3 months in. This would be great after a couple of months of Christian establishing that he's going for the world title. It's just not great timing, but the work has been fantastic. And the work on Sunday is going to be fantastic. Christian's going to do everything he can to make Swerve feel like the guy there. So, yeah, it's no slight on him either.
For sure. It is what it is with some of this stuff. Like, ultimately, some guys, their perception just is Christian can do whatever like he could possibly do in his power. He's always going to be viewed a certain way. And I think people really appreciate him, but I don't think ever people are going to see him as, oh my God, he's definitely main event in the pay-per-view. I don't think that's a slight. It's the reality, right? It's like, he's been on TV for 25 years, dude. Like, here's what it is.
Yeah, I feel like this fits better. You would have want to waited a little bit longer into the Swerve run to do this type of matchup, but I feel much better about Christian's place in this world title match than I did the last time he was in a world title match on a pay-per-view with Kenny Omega back at All Out 2021. So.
Yeah, and again, it's not, the other time Christian main event in the pay-per-view, they had that, Kim and Darby had that killer match at Wrestle Dream.
Yes.
So, like, again, this is none of this is a reflection of him as a wrestler. It's just, you look at it and you kind of go, you use the Backlash comparison. That's a B pay-per-view in your house style title program.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. Hopefully the match is awesome. I'm sure it will be.
Absolutely. But there is no question to AEW, the way they booked it, and to us as fans watching the product, what the real main event of Sunday will be. It will be Anarchy in the Arena. The Elites, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, Jack Perry, and Kashika Okada will face Team AEW, FTR, Dax Hardwood, Cash Wheeler, Bryan Danielson, and the returning insane Darby Allin. This comes off the heels of Dynasty, where Jack Perry returned to AEW and aligned himself with the Elite. It led to his face-to-face confrontation with Tony Khan on the week after Dynasty, where he punched him in the stomach with a microphone, and then Matthew and Nicholas Jackson laid him out with the Tony Khan driver to have him show up on the NFL draft with a neck brace. And then this led to Omega making his return to AEW. A very emotional, great promo he did in his hometown of Winnipeg, but that led to him being jumped by the Elite and laid out, getting the EVP trigger from the Young Bucks. This led to Kenny making an Anarchy in the Arena matchup with Team AEW versus the Elite. FTR would get two partners to team up with them, which they chose Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson. Unfortunately, Eddie Kingston is insane. So is Gabe Kidd, and they ruined all of that with a suplex through a table where Eddie Kingston's leg hit the barricade. This led to the Young Bucks and Jack Perry jumping Eddie Kingston, laying him out, taking him out of this matchup. But the insane maniac that is Darby Allin, who suffered a broken foot just 2 months ago against Jay White, who was hit by a New York City bus 2 weeks ago, returns to AEW out of nowhere to fill the spot of Kingston, and he showed this week on AEW Dynamite despite being barred from the building thanks to Tony Khan lifting the van and driving him to the building, where Darby pulled out a flamethrower to protect Bryan Danielson from the Elite. It leads to Anarchy in the Arena 3, and I think Darby Allin might try to kill himself. Like, I'm sorry. The last time I saw Darby live, I saw him fly off a 20-foot ladder into glass, and he just did an interview where he said that was the easiest bump of his career. And he pulled out a flamethrower on Wednesday, and I don't think he's going to wear long sleeve and a pants on Sunday. He's going to try to take the flamethrower spot in his regular attire, and this is why I am very scared for how this match will go, but I think it's going to be living up to the stipulation that Anarchy in the Arena has been built to be. Joe, what have you thought about the build-up to this matchup? Who do you think wins? And like I said at the top of the show, this was the match I was referring to that actually feels like episodic television, despite how anybody feels it has progressed in a big way every single week leading up to the pay-per-view. And that's why I feel this will be the main event.
Yeah, I agree. It's been an interesting experiment for them, right? Because like this is the kind of angle they've really hardly ever done in their history, where it's like overarching, and you see the Bucks multiple times throughout the show, and it closes every show. I think it's been well executed, and I think there's a lot of positives to take from how they've like taken to that format. I don't know if it's a conflict that I'm personally invested in. You know, it's like it's one of those things I look at and I go, "This is well done." They're doing a good job with this. They're building it consistently, but I don't know if I truly care about what they're fighting for and this kind of like the power of AEW thing. I don't know, and maybe that's probably a me thing. That's fine. But look, the beauty of this is look at this lineup here. All right, I mean, this is a really talented group of guys, and we talked about effort throughout this show a lot. We talked about with Copeland. I mean, if you look at this squad, I think it's hard to, especially Team AEW, dude. Like, I don't know how Dax is still walking to the ring. Like, seriously, and I don't mean to romanticize it, but like that dude, he cares to a fault, right? Like, he shouldn't be out there sometimes, and he's going 15, 20 in trios matches on Collision, and Darby Allin, as you mentioned, is a danger to himself and more than anyone else. So Danielson, like, I think this will probably be spectacular. Now, the thing I think that's key here is, in terms of the finish, I think you need a shenanigan of some kind. Now, obviously, it's not cheating. It's Anarchy in the Arena, anything goes. But I do not think you want to have the Elite just win this match. I don't think anything's gained from that. When I look at that Elite faction, to me, they should be cowards ultimately. That's what they're that's perfect for their presentation. Less so Okada, but the other three guys certainly should be. They get more heat that way. I wonder if a certain cowboy returns for this finish. Now, I'm very torn on it because I don't really want Hangman to be back with the Elite. But the idea of using it as a bridge, because you do next month for Blood and Guts, you do him with the Elite and Swerve with Team AEW, I think it may be worth playing with that. So I think that may be the finish because I wouldn't want to beat the baby faces clean, quote unquote. You know, like I think I'd avoid that. I will say, once you do Blood and Guts, I do not think this angle has the heat to be some sort of year-long odyssey. I think this should be Blood and Guts, and it should be a thing you do for a few months and you move on. Personally, that's just me. But I think the match is going to be absolutely spectacular. I'd imagine it will be quite a bit better than last year's Anarchy in the Arena because I think the Elite are going to be better as heels in this setting. You know, I think so. I'm very hopeful about the match. I think the Elite get the win, though.
Benno, what have you thought about this build?
Yeah, I feel the same as Joe in that I'm not necessarily invested in it. I think, yeah, a lot of that's probably to do with the way the Bucks and the Elite in general play heels, which is kind of this post-ironic, you know, kind of wink at the camera type of heels. Like and also the fact that, you know, this is built around the very fiber of AEW, which means something to Tony Khan and his head canon. I heard him on the conference call talk about, well, you know, we've got like a guy from the original AEW, which is Darby Allin, and we got FTR who are from like the pandemic era, and then we got Brian who's from the fall. It's like, maybe say that on TV, mate. Maybe not just have that in your head. Let's tell that story like on the screen instead. Yeah. I don't really believe in those stakes. I just don't. But what I do believe in is the guys here in this match, and I believe, like, I was there at the first Anarchy in the Arena. I was there with Steph, and we were kind of watching it from in the arena, going, there's no way this is as good on TV as it is here, because every direction you looked, something cool was going on, and we were following the wrestlers around, and it was just like this wild scene. And then I found out that everybody loved it on TV as well. It's one of my favorite memories ever, going to a show. And I can't tell you anything about the second one. Can't even remember a fucking thing from it. However, this one is going to have these guys in it who are going to, for good or bad, they're going to have ideas. Like, there's going to be good ideas. There's going to be bad ideas. Darby's going to have 20, and half of them are going to be about killing himself. I still think at All In at Wembley, he's going to want to do something on the roof of Wembley Stadium. I'm convinced that day is coming, and it's going to be hard to talk him out of it. He'll come up with something equally mad here. And the Bucks are always going to have crazy ideas for a match like this, and maybe 80% of them land, that'll be good enough, because it's gonna be a wild scene, and I think it won't help but be good. I just wish it goes to that very first conversation we had at the start of the podcast. I just wish I was more invested. I wish I was more, I wish blood and guts with these characters made sense to me and was something I really believed in.
Yeah.
You know, the fiber of AEW being 4-4. I'm not into it, but I'm into all of these wrestlers, and I think that's going to be enough. And I think they're going to have to go on last because of all the wild shit these crazy people are going to do.
Absolutely. This is the match where Brian got his concussion and was out for a couple of months and you know he's going to want to redeem himself in this one. And you know, I thought last year was really good, especially like the exploding super kick and Claudio giving I think Matt Jackson a swing in the corridor. So there was some fun spots there, but it wasn't like that first one. And I think that I really wanted to see what Eddie Kingston was going to do, but like, Darby being the replacement, he's the one that I'm most interested in seeing in this matchup now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, especially he introduced a flamethrower on Wednesday. I know he's going to be the one who takes the flamethrower.
Of course.
Even though he's the only one that can fire it off legally to Tony Khan, but I think he's going to be the one who takes the flamethrower in some way.
Probably so. That seems like a safe bet. Yeah, probably.
I think the Elite gets the win, and I think it should be Jack Perry pinning Bryan Danielson, because I think that Jack Perry is probably going to get a shot at the AEW World Championship sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So you got to put him over strong.
Yeah, that makes sense. The thing I would say is with this angle is whenever you do the heel like show takeover thing, you have to be careful with going heel heavy, right? Like you can't just make your baby faces feel like losers. Like Danielson, the idea of him getting pinned by Jack Perry is like the easiest thing to envision because he gets pinned by everyone, right? Like it's what he does. But you do have to be careful with that. Like you need to give your baby faces an out here because ultimately, like, you know, for a lot of this angle, the Elite are just kicking the shit out of people, right? I mean, that's kind of what a lot of this has been. It wasn't on the last couple of weeks, granted, but yeah. So we'll see. I think the finish here is. I think you need to be a little creative, but I definitely like the idea of giving Jack that win because they need heels that Swerve can work with. So that makes sense.
Yeah. And he's doing the best.
I think they're gonna.
Definitely.
100%
been in his skin at any point.
Yep.
I also don't think that we're gonna do Blood and Guts this summer. I think they're gonna save it. I think what they really should do is this all culminates at like All Out in Blood and Guts. They should move Blood and Guts to an actual.
I think that would make a lot of sense because the format of TV of Blood and Guts is horrible. But unfortunately, I think that rating is something that they're going to really want this year. I think. I mean, I don't like it because it's like it's an hour of TV and it has fucking 4 ads and it goes on for it. But like, it just feels like with where their TV's at right now, they're going to want that rating. I think, but we'll see.
That's a good point. All right, but that is all the matches for this Sunday. I will say, after talking to you two guys, who did bury a lot of this card, and I will bump my score up. I will bump my score up 6.5, 7. I'm excited for the show.
Tremendous.
Yeah. Still 6.
Thank you to you. Thank you to you both. I appreciate you guys coming on and talking about this Sunday show. I want to give you guys the chance to let everybody know where they can follow you because you guys do excellent content wherever you are. I know Joe's a couple of places. Benno does great work over in the UK, and we're all in the UK, so we're all doing great work in the UK. But first up, Benno, let everybody know where they can follow you and hear all your great wrestling content.
BritBres boys are taking over. Obviously, GRAPPL podcast, the GRAPPL Spotlight is our main thing, and we do that every Tuesday night. You can get that at youtube.com/@GRAPPL. And over there, we a bit like True Heel Heat, we review the world in wrestling each given week. But we've also got our Patreon, where we do a lot of retro content. Did a review of King of the Ring 2001 this week. We're doing a mixtape this weekend where we're going to answer the question: did Kurt Angle ever have a 5-star match? And Kurt himself, This is a shoot, has picked 2 of the matches we're going to be reviewing this weekend. So very excited to do that. So you can get all that at patreon.com/grapple. And yeah, that's pretty much where I am. Twitter.com/@Benson. Is that a still thing? X.com/@Benson Richard D as well. Catch me over there.
Joe, you're up. Let everybody know.
I can't top that Kurt Angle pitch. That was very good. I
was
need to
great.
see that, actually. All right, I have immediate plugs, hilariously. So, in just over 2 hours, myself and Charlie of WrestlePurists are going to be on WrestlePurists previewing a little show called Double or Nothing. I haven't looked at the card yet. It'll be completely fresh takes. I may actually do like some performance art and work babyface on that show and make Chuck the negative one. I'm not sure it depends how I feel, but that's at 5 Eastern, and then at 10:30 Eastern, so 3:30 here in Gotham, it will be the King and Queen of the Ring preview show, which is the Late Night Grin. If you haven't seen the Late Night Grin, it's similar to kind of what we did here, a lot of horse shit and laughing at our own jokes. So that's what's coming up at Joe Hulbert on the Twitter X thing. We'll keep you updated on all of my incredible, exciting activities throughout the weeks and months of the year.
Yes, thank you so much to the Brit Rest All-Star team that we had on this preview. I appreciate y'all taking the time out to talk about this Sunday show, and hopefully as I get used to this UK Wi-Fi, I'll get better on lagging. But check out me. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at True Heel Heat, and check out all the great content we got on the channel right now, like our WWE King and Queen of the Ring preview from earlier this week with myself and Kev Kellum breaking down this Saturday's show. And join us tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time, for our WWE King and Queen of the Ring watch party as we watch the card from Saudi Arabia. And then later on, around like I'll say 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, we'll have our King and Queen of the Ring review with myself and the True Draw Josh possibly joining me. I don't know. We'll figure it out. And check out our AEW Dynamite review, AE Ramble 147 Flame On from this past Wednesday's Dynamite. And of course, join us on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern time for our AEW Double or Nothing watch party. Romeo will be here. The Around the Point crew will be here as well. And I will be live on Monday for a Double or Nothing review to put a bow on this crazy Memorial Day weekend in wrestling. But for Joe Hulbert, for Benno, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been our AEW Double or Nothing 2024 preview. We are signing off until